Hello and welcome to today's SenseNet webinar, focused on all things platform security related. I'm Roger Macnair. I run the sales development team here at SenseNet, and today we'll be taking a deep dive into integrated security. We'll be exploring how and why the mid-market has become an attractive target for hackers across the world, and the ways in which these hackers are seeking to compromise your organization. We'll look at the typical way that mid-market organizations tend to protect themselves with multiple specialist products and why this brings with it serious challenges. For businesses with small teams, high churn rate and battling a growing volume of threats, there needs to be an approach that reduces complexity and increases efficiency. Enter integrated security and the platform approach. We'll explore why a platform approach to cybersecurity is so suited to mid-market, how it can help you future-proof your defenses, and the steps you can take to transition from multiple products to the platform approach. In particular, we're going to drill down on how it can help your existing staff work more productively and efficiently, and remove the need for additional hires and expensive training. So, today I have our CTO Richard Walters to set the scene and explain why the mid-market is today becoming ever more vulnerable to attacks and what we can do to protect ourselves. First up, Richard, please, can you introduce yourself?
Certainly, Roger, it's a pleasure. My name is Richard Walters. I'm CTO here at SenseNet.
Excellent. So Richard, I have a first question really. Why is the mid-market becoming more vulnerable to cyber attacks?
Yeah, good question. I don't know whether they're becoming more vulnerable to attacks. I think probably the number of vulnerabilities is remaining fairly constant, but they are definitely being targeted more and more. Attackers are completely indiscriminate. If you're cash flow positive, they don't care how large you are. They'll just take your money and put you in the red. So impact doesn't come into it either, and sympathy certainly doesn't. I think another common misconception is that mid-market organisations, they don't feel that they've got anything worth stealing. But even if you don't have money in the bank, then almost all organisations have personal data of some sort about their customers, suppliers, whatever. And that itself can be monetised. So really no one is immune, and I suppose Chaucer back in 1387 got it right even then. He said the root of all evil is greed.
Absolutely.
And that covers the attacker's motive, certainly. Complacency on the flip side is the root of all security evil from a victim's perspective. So I guess the message is don't be complacent.
Absolutely. No, that's fabulous, thank you. So if we look at the kind of, I suppose, why is the platform approach crucial in the current threat landscape?
How long have we got, Roger?
Not all day.
No, not all day. According to our Code Red research, which is available on our website, obviously, that was research focused at the mid-market specifically. Mid-market firms use an average of 24 security products, and actually 7% of them use more than 50 security
and
products.
these, Richard, can range from what to what when it comes to security products?
Everything from firewalls to VPNs to endpoint security to antivirus, anti-malware. The list just goes on and on and on. And the industry has just added more and more different product segments into the security space over the years. Challenge is that between each point product solution, there is a potential security gap. And attackers know that, and they are targeting those gaps.
What do you mean by gaps, Richard? What are these gaps?
Just gaps in that one security product might be seeing something which would cause you to then go and investigate what other security point products are seeing. But that takes time. It's manually intensive. The sorts of numbers of alerts out of all of those point products that organisations are having to deal with means that they've got a very short amount of time to look at, assess and act on a particular alert. So that's a real challenge in the mid-market where security teams are small. I suppose integration eliminates those gaps or mines the gap, if you like. And the way most enterprises resolve those gaps is to layer more and more products or more and more management layers on top of those point products. Things like SIM tools, security operations, analytics and reporting tools, security orchestration, automation and response tools. But all of those technologies are beyond the reach of the mid-market, generally speaking.
And it certainly sounds like it's extremely resource heavy.
Yeah, absolutely. It is resource heavy.
Yeah.
At a time when budgets are being cut, people are being asked to do more with less. And of course, we're facing a global cybersecurity skills storage as well. I'm sure some of those points we'll talk about a little bit more. I suppose a platform also ensures that very tight integration between the different services that exist within that platform. So you are, by definition, eliminating the gaps that we talked about previously.
And this specifically helps that kind of mid-market business.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and integration today is so critical because, as we all know, 90% of attacks, over 90% of attacks start via email. But then that email is only crafted to get the user to click on the link in that email message. As soon as they click the link, they're taken into the browser. They've left good old email security behind at that point. And we know that 65% of all attacks are multi-channel or cross-channel attacks that do exactly that. They start via email, but they very quickly move into the browser. So you're then at that point reliant on either web security or cloud application security. Every phishing attack, just as an example, is a cross-channel attack. Starts via email, user clicks the link, takes them to a fake Office 365 login page. They're now in the browser. That page is designed, obviously, to get them to enter their username and password, so it's all about credential capture. If you don't have email and web security and cloud application security all very tightly integrated, you just can't have even visibility of that attack end to end. And if you don't have visibility, then you've got absolutely zero chance of preventing that attack.
So Richard, how can mid-market businesses future-proof cybersecurity with a platform approach?
Yeah, I guess part of it, if you do go down the platform route, then you're almost by definition handing the problem of staying up to date with that ever-shifting threat landscape, new attack techniques. You're almost transferring at least a significant part of that to the vendor that's providing you with the platform. It becomes the vendor's responsibility to maintain that platform and to ensure that individual services are aware of new threats, attack techniques, and that vendor should also be introducing new features, new functionality, new technology to address new security challenges as they emerge.
So this really does take the strain out, doesn't it,
Yeah.
of a security?
Yeah, for an already under-resourced small security team in mid-market organisations, I mean, security as a service is very attractive, but at the same time extremely cost-effective. One thing I would say is make sure you read the service level agreement associated with the vendor, because not all service level agreements are the same, obviously.
How much can they vary?
Quite significantly, and you want to make sure that penalty clauses are going to deliver you value as the customer, but that they're also going to cause the vendor some pain.
Of course.
Otherwise, they will get things wrong because there is no real pain or impact on them.
Understandably. So how can I transition from multiple point products to a platform approach without that huge investment?
It doesn't have to be a big bang approach. You don't have to throw the switch on a Friday evening and cut all of those different security products across to an integrated platform-based solution. You can move services, point products one at a time.
Excellent.
So it doesn't have to be costly or risky.
Good stuff.
We're in security. We don't like risk.
So I suppose it comes back to that. I mean, how can one transition from this kind of multiple products to a platform approach without the huge investment?
There are 5 steps really. Invest in the right security solutions to start with, and if you choose the platform approach, then you're obviously going to choose platform-based offerings. Eradicate that complexity. 76% of mid-market organisations have a plan to invest in cloud-based security for a lot of the reasons that we've mentioned. The onus to keep that platform current, up to date, at least is down to the vendor. And create your own rules. Create your own rules based on thousands of attack scenarios. Look at your own organisation, the assets that are most important to you, and the ones that you really want to protect the most, I suppose. And actually, some of this is just purely about gaining visibility. We talked about cross-channel attacks, and you need end-to-end visibility first and foremost if you're going to stand any chance of stopping those attacks. But also, threat intelligence is another thing. Threat intelligence is really important. But again, threat intelligence is something that is beyond the reach of the mid-market generally.
Why?
Just because it is so expensive.
Yeah.
An enterprise class threat intelligence feed is going to cost you a minimum of $100,000, and that's every year. But that's just going to give you a huge list of millions of IP addresses, URLs, file hashes maybe, and that list of millions of items will be updated typically every 24 hours.
Wow. That's a lot of alerts.
It is. It's a lot of objects, and then on its own, that threat intelligence feed is not going to give you any value whatsoever. You've got to take that feed, you've got to slice and dice it, and you've got to move IP addresses, for example, down into your web security product. Or if it's new phishing or spammy domains or IP addresses, you'd want to move those down and manually configure them within email security. The best platforms that are out there, they take all of that threat intelligence in for you. It gets aggregated, deduplicated, and then it gets automatically pushed down into those individual services so that all users are protected. So not only is threat intelligence really expensive, but it's quite resource intensive to take that and update the individual products that you might have deployed.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand why more and more organisations have wanted to move that way, for sure. So, currently, I'm struggling to hire, the right cybersecurity talent. How can a platform approach help those with a kind of lean IT team?
Yeah, I think it's something that everybody is struggling with. If you look at ISC2, they produce a survey almost annually. I think back in 2020, they said there was going to be a global shortage of 3.2 million cybersecurity professionals. Wow. Fast forward a year to their cyber workforce report, I think it was called, in 2021, that said that we were now 65% down on where we needed to be from a cybersecurity headcount perspective almost. And so that platform approach, it's all about improving operational efficiency. And significantly in some cases, the more services you integrate into a platform, obviously the more efficiency savings you can drive. The other thing, once you've got all products into a single platform, is you can start to automate security response.
What do you mean by that?
Just that if you see an attack starting via email, for example, as we talked about earlier on, email security, if it identifies that, let's say, phishing email coming into the organisation, it should be able to extract the malicious bad URL from that email message, and then web security should automatically, without any human intervention or analysis, should just be able to block that URL for everybody within the organisation.
Fabulous.
And so once you've got, I was going to say all your eggs in one basket, maybe not all of them, but once you've got multiple services within a single platform, then that kind of autonomous integrated security and that entirely autonomous automated response, that can then happen 24/7, which in the mid-market is game-changing, because how many mid-market organisations have 24/7 IT teams?
Absolutely, very few.
Large enterprise, you might have a security operations centre somewhere. But certainly as you come down into smaller organisations, that kind of automated 24/7 coverage makes a massive difference to security posture.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. Okay, that's great. So in regards to consolidation, how will a consolidated approach to security make the team more productive?
Yeah, again, going back to that Code Red research that we did recently that looked specifically at the challenges facing the mid-market, we know that the average number of alerts, we talk about alerts, that a typical mid-market organisation would see every day is about 716.
Wow.
So that gives you, if you do the maths, 102 seconds to assess and then go and investigate and act on each alert. And at the end of 102 seconds, you've got to move on to the next one. Otherwise, you just start missing, dropping alerts, and that, again, is another gap that attackers are aware of. They'll flood you with alerts. They'll trigger all manner of alerts from your security products, knowing that they can then slide the attack in underneath that level of noise that they've created. So an integrated platform, particularly if you've got that autonomous capability within that platform that's just automatically stopping and preventing attacks in real time, that makes a significant difference. It can offload a lot of the sort of low-level, mundane, repetitive tasks from that already stretched small security team, which just makes them far more productive and makes them finally proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, absolutely, which everyone wants. And last question, Richard. I mean, it's obviously becoming harder to justify investment in solutions in the current business environment. How can a platform approach help me achieve more buy-in? And I think that's always the challenge, isn't it? The challenge is getting the buy-in from the board to get the budgets released.
Yeah.
How can that platform approach help that?
This is a bit of a wild claim, but modern cloud-based security solutions tend to be cheaper than the older legacy on-premises equivalents, if there even is an equivalent. So actually moving away from those, older point products to more modern cloud-based integrated platforms, that in itself is going to reduce spend, most likely. It certainly shouldn't increase it. But what it also does is it streamlines processes. It improves, obviously, the integration between systems. It strengthens your overall security sort of posture by eliminating those gaps. And then it also, hopefully, will remove workload from that stretched team through the level of integration and therefore automation that you can arrive at and derive from that platform approach. I think from a board perspective, it's about enhanced visibility. If you've got all of your security data in one place, then by definition you're probably going to have more advanced reporting, better data visualization, and that alone can enable customers to have a better view over what's going on. We had one customer, for example, that was able to see that there were multiple individuals within the organisation purchasing PPE during COVID. Once they'd seen that and once they got that knowledge, they were able to centralise that procurement process, which led to economies of scale and quite significant savings.
Absolutely. That sounds definitely a way forward. Well, look, Richard, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a really interesting chat. So if you want to get more tips and advice on integrated autonomous security platforms, there'll be a link below this video, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.